everybody. Here after I just finished walking and I came and got a iced coffee, which is not great. I don't know what happened. Like typically when I put French creamer in, it sweetens the whole cup, and for some reason it's not sweet and the ice melted, so it's not sweet, it's not cold. It is what it is. I'm not going back in though, so I did want to come and say hey. And I've been meaning to do a review on The Invisible Man and haven't gotten around to it. And I've seen it about 3 times. I really liked the movie. It was good. I want to rewatch Hollow Man at some point with Kevin Bacon and give you guys a review on that. But basically, it's like the same concept. It's basically about a man who is invisible and, you know, the things that happen from there. So let's talk about The Invisible Man. This movie came out in 2020. It is right now available on the Roku free. I think it's available on the Roku directly. I don't think you need another app to get it, but even if you do, the Roku will help you find it free. And I think that the app, that if it's not Roku directly that it's on, you can get the app free and you can still watch the movie free. But it was pretty good. So the movie, our main character's name is Cecilia. The movie starts with Cecilia in a mansion, a very nice mansion out in like an isolated area. And she's up. It is middle of the night and she is desperately trying to get herself together and get out of there. So she wakes up, she's lying next to a man. I think that's how it opens up. And she actually goes and she gets dressed and she has a little bag and she is trying to get out of there without waking him up. There's a dog there, and she trips the car alarm on her way out as she's trying to help the dog. The dog has some kind of like a shock collar, and she takes it off, and she jumps over a wall and she gets away. But this man who she's trying to leave and get away from, he is like close on her trail. She has planned her escape this particular day, and she has her sister meet her out in the back of the house, like in the woods, and her sister's drive, and she gets into the car. But before her sister can drive away, Adrian, who is her boyfriend, who she's trying to leave, he punches the window and they drive off. Okay, so she actually goes and she starts staying with a friend. I'm guessing a friend of the family, who is a police officer named James, and James has a daughter named Sydney. Her sister's name is Emily. Okay, so Cecilia lives with her friend James, who's a police officer, and Sydney, who's his daughter. And she's afraid, she's afraid to leave the house. She has panic attacks a little bit when she thinks about leaving the house. She's afraid that Adrian is going to find her. James and her sister is basically trying to tell her, like, you're safe, you're okay, you know, he's not going to find you. And she was like, he is not going to just let me walk away and leave. So some weeks go by, and Adrian has a brother named Tom. Tom is a lawyer. And come to find out, Adrian has, you know, terminated himself. So he's not alive anymore. And Tom reads the will to Cecilia, and Cecilia has inherited a bunch of money. So Adrian was an optics. He was in optics technology. Okay. And he was like he had a lot of different inventions and stuff. So she has inherited like millions of dollars. The clause is that she does not be involved with any criminal acts. Otherwise, the money will be, you know, redacted from her. And they will start to make payments immediately. So Cecilia is still like in the back of her mind, like, I don't know, you know, about this. But she starts to feel a little bit safer. So she, you know, actually starts to leave the house a little bit. She's still staying with James. But she, you know, starts to feel a little bit more like free, you know, thinking that Adrian is not, you know, he's not alive anymore. So, you know, Cecilia, James, and Sydney get along well. Sydney actually shares her bed with Cecilia. So Cecilia sleeps with Sydney at night. And so that they have a pretty nice relationship. They get along well. She actually tells Sydney is, it seems like she's in her senior year of high school. And so they're trying to figure out where she's going to go to college and stuff. So Cecilia is like, look, I'm going to put some money aside for you for school, and you should be good to go for undergrad and graduate school. So they're like celebrating and stuff because she has all this money, right? And she's, you know, so trying to sort through what she's going to do. So as time goes on, Cecilia gets the sneaking suspicion that she's being watched. Like when she's laying in bed, the blanket comes off of both she and Sydney while they're asleep, and she feels like there's someone in the room. So she yells and screams. James comes in. He's like, there's no one here. And she's like, I swear I saw something in here, right? And so, yeah, that's like, she starts to get freaked out, like feeling like she's being watched, feeling like there's someone there, and there's no evidence of it, really. Like, she sees like little shadows and little footprints and stuff, but it could very well be that she's losing her mind, right? She's been through something very traumatic, and that's how people kind of write it off. Like, you've been through something, you know, with this man. This man was abusive. That's why she had to leave him. So, at some point, she's talking to Sydney, and Sydney gets straight up pops, like, in the face. And Sydney looks up, and the only person that's there is Cecilia. So she's like, you hit me. Why did you hit me? And she yells for her dad. And her dad is like, oh my goodness. Like, you know, like, we're getting out of here. You need to leave, right? So they're just thinking that, you know, Cecilia's losing her mind. Like, she actually hit Sydney. At some point, Cecilia goes for an interview, and she has like a portfolio because she's some kind of an artist, and all of her material that she packs for her interview is not there. So she's like, I know I had it, you know. So it's like she was almost losing her mind. Meanwhile, her sister gets this nasty email from Cecilia, and Cecilia's like, I didn't send you an email, right? So it's like all these things are happening, and Cecilia's like, I'm not losing my mind. I know what I did. I know what I didn't do, right? So she's like, it's Adrian. I know it's him, right? And they're like, Adrian, Tom is Adrian's brother, the attorney, and he's like, he's dead. He's not around anymore. So after Sydney gets hit and James tells her she needs to leave, he takes Sydney out of the house. So Cecilia's in the house by herself, and she's like, I know, like, he's here. And so she actually ends up going into the attic, and in the attic she finds a cell phone, and there's a text message that says surprise on the cell phone. And she knows, like, there's something in the attic with her. So she actually uses some paint, and the figure gets covered in paint, so she can see this invisible person covered in paint, and they're starting to fight a little bit. And she gets out the house, she starts running, and, you know, she runs to a car. Apparently she's, you know, called for a ride or whatever. And she actually goes to the house that she lived in with Adrian. She goes into the house. She tells her ride to kind of, I guess in an Uber, you know, or, you know, some kind of a ride share program. She actually tells this person to wait for her outside. She goes into the house where she and Adrian have lived, and everything's covered over, like the furniture's covered, like no one lives there. I guess it's getting ready to be sold, or it's just empty right now because Adrian he's dead, right? And she finds a suit. She finds some kind of a suit that if Adrian used to work in optics, it's probably a suit that could make someone invisible, right? So she rushes out. She puts the suit back, where it was. She rushes out into her ride. The invisible figure starts to attack again, but she rushes out to the car and she leaves. She goes to her sister's. She calls her sister and say, "Hey, I have an explanation. Meet me at this restaurant." So they go to this restaurant, and she's talking to her sister, and they're trying to, have a conversation. Apparently, they seem like there is a bunch of bugs flying around my house. I don't know if they're flies or what. I don't want them to come in. They're not coming in, but I'm afraid they will. So I'm going to have to talk fast because my car does not have air. I never got the air fixed. They told me the end of last summer, they told me when it stopped working that it was going to cost I think they said 12. It was between $1,200 and $1,700. And I had just gotten the, I forgot. It was something I had just gotten fixed. And if they would have fixed the air at the same time that they were supposed to fix the air, it would have cost me less money because they were in that same part of the car. So in order to take out whatever parts of the car they need to fix the air, is going to cost me so much money. I'm just like, I'm not willing to pay that much. My car is not new. It rides well otherwise, but it's not new. So I almost should I pay to get it fixed, or should I go ahead and just invest that money into a new car? I don't know, but I'm starting to sweat already, so I'm going to leave it down. We'll see these little gnats or flies or whatever bugs they are. They're weird looking. They're not flies. The one just landed on the windshield. They're not flies, but they look like they are pesky little things. So I'm hoping they don't fly in here. But I'm too hot, just that fast, to keep my window rolled up. But anyway, let me speed it up. So she meets her sister at the restaurant. It seems like their relationship is where they're there for each other, but they don't have the greatest relationship. So it almost seemed like her sister was able to believe that email. It wasn't like, I don't believe it. We have a good relationship. I don't know why you would send that email to me. Like, her sister automatically just believed it. So it made me feel like, it gave me the sense that the relationship is rocky at times, because otherwise I don't know why her sister would believe an email like that. But anyway, Cecilia is trying to explain to her sister that she didn't write that. She definitely believes Adrian is still around. She found this suit. And as they're talking, a knife just comes up and slits her sister's throat right in the restaurant. And her sister, face down on her plate basically, and blood is just seeping out. And Cecilia is just sitting there, and basically Cecilia is framed for the murder of her sister, and everybody in the restaurant is screaming and everything, and Cecilia is just sitting there like, what the heck, right? So Cecilia is committed to a psych ward. Okay, it gets that deep. She goes to a psych ward. She's being charged with the murder of her sister. Tom visits. Tom, Adrian's brother, visits. He's an attorney. He basically says, because you have been charged with this crime, you are no longer entitled to this money. So basically, she is in a worse situation than she was when she started, because at least she, number one, wasn't a criminal. At least she had some money, right? And now she is a criminal with no money. That basically means she's not going to have the best attorneys, right? So yeah, the money is now not going to be something that she can have, and the money that she's already been given is going to be taken back. So even the money she had allotted for Sydney's education is going to be taken away. I think that's how it went. So Tom is like, this can all go away. Just go back to him. And she's like, what? I knew it, So she finds out while she's in the hospital that she is pregnant. And apparently when she was with Adrian, she has stopped taking the birth control. She started taking birth control because she knew that if Adrian got her pregnant, she would be really, really stuck with him. So basically, Tom is like, did you really think that Adrian didn't know that you were taking birth control? And that you were not taking birth control, because he did something funky with her birth control where she was not taking it and she still got pregnant. Yeah. So, and the other reason why, I should go back. The other reason why Cecilia knew that Adrian was around and he was doing some funky stuff to her as an invisible person was that the night that she left, she had actually drugged him with some diazepam. And when she was jumping into her sister's Emily car when she escaped, she dropped it. When Adrian punched the car, as they were pulling off, his knuckles were bloody. So she actually found the bottle of diazepam with his bloody fingerprint in the house with James and Sydney. She found it in the bathroom. And she was like, I lost that diazepam the night I left, and it showed up in the house. So this is how, like, number one, she was seeing suspicious stuff. She knew she was being watched by something that no one else could see. And she also found that bottle. So basically, Adrian he basically a nut job, okay? To do all this stuff, right? So anyway, she's in a psych ward. Tom is basically saying, this can go away. Just go back to him, girl. And she's like, dang, what am I going to do? So what happens is that as Tom is talking to her, she throws something. When Tom goes to pick it up, she steals a pen out of his suitcase. He has a suitcase open. He has a bunch of pens lined up in the suitcase. She steals a pen, tucks it away. So when she goes back to her room, she's in a fancy, I've never seen a psych hospital where people had their own shower. So she has her own shower. So that she goes back to her room. The person gives her medication. They lock her back in her room. She goes into the shower and she pulls that pen out, and she actually like slices into her wrist. She was like, you think that you're going to have me and this baby? You're not going to have this baby. So as she's slicing into her wrist, the invisible man, Adrian, or who we think is Adrian, intervenes, right? And she's like, I knew it. And she takes that pen and punches him through the suit. So his suit is starting to malfunction and crackle. So we can see the suit in a person's figure, and it's invisible at times, and it's starting to crackle, right? And so the invisible man opens the door and leaves out of her room, right? Adrian runs out of the other room too, okay? So they're running through the halls, and there's a bunch of police officers that are after her because they see her running through the hall, and she's not supposed to be in the hall. And as they are after her, the invisible man starts to attack the police officers. So he's punching and popping police officers that don't see him. As the suit is crackling, they can kind of sort of see something, but they can't. They're more concerned about her, who they can see. And so she's like, look, he's behind you. And he's like beating up the police officers. He's like taking a gun. He shot a couple of police officers and everything, right? But it's almost like too unbelievable. So it's almost like she's gonna be framed for this too, right? That's how it seems. So it's pouring rain. He leaves out. She chases after him out into the rain in the parking lot. He's still like, going after. There's more police officers outside. He's kind of going after. He basically puts it in her head that if she does not do what he wants her to do, he's going to go after people that she loves. He's already killed Emily, her sister, so he's basically going to go after Sydney and James. So she's like, I have to go back to the house. So she actually, there's an accident that happens that she kind of causes, and she actually, one of the people that's in a car accident, as he gets out of the car, she takes the car and she starts driving back to Sydney and James. So she calls James, and she's like, look, Sydney, go back to the house. He's going to go after Sydney. She's in danger. So she starts driving to the house. Before you know it, the invisible man is at the house. He is attacking Sydney. He's like popping her, like, when I say pop, like, you know, popping her in the face. I think he slapped her a couple times and stuff, and he starts choking her. And as that's happening, James and he starts beating up James, right? So he has, like, not only it seems like is he invincible, but he has some kind of a super strength on top of it. So he's like beating up James, and James is trying to fight, but he really can't see who he's fighting. And so as things are kind of happening, Cecilia does get into the house just in time, and she is able to shoot the Invisible Man and take off. They kill the Invisible Man. They take off the suit of the Invisible Man, and guess who is the Invisible Man? It's Tom the brother, right? So it's like, wow. So it was Tom this whole time. You know what this scene reminded me of? You ever see this Scooby-Doo, and at the end there's always like a person who's supposed to be a good guy, and they find out at the end that this good guy was wearing a mask the whole time. They're like, it was you the whole time. This is like a Scooby-Doo moment, right? So come to find out, Tom is wearing a suit, and Adrian's like, no, I don't believe it. She's like, I don't believe it. I know Adrian. So the police actually go to the house, to the abandoned house that Cecilia lived in with Adrian, and they find Adrian tied up. So basically the conclusion is that Tom was the mastermind of everything, and this was his way of getting back at Adrian, I guess. Adrian, I guess, was not the nicest brother to him, I guess. And now Adrian is free, and, you know, everything was pinned on Tom. So, but Cecilia does not believe it. So what happens is that she tells James, I don't believe it. And James is like, look, this is the police, like, this, our file is closed, you know, like, on this. The case is closed. It was all Tom. And Cecilia's like, nah. So Cecilia agrees to meet with Adrian, and she agrees to have a dinner with him. She goes back to the house, and they're having this dinner. She looks really, really nice. She dresses up nicely, and she talks to Adrian, and she says, look, I am open to reconciling with you, but I need you to do me a solid. That's basically what she said. She said, I need you to confess your deeds. Okay? I need you to confess to me what you have done. Basically, she said, I know what you did. I know you better than this. I know that you had a hand in this and everything that happened. And I need you to say what you did. And he's like, I promise you I had nothing to do with this. This is what he basically says. He gives, like, bold-faced lies in her face, because she knows him. She knows, like, how evil and wicked and the things he would do, you know, to her. And basically, Cecilia is like, out of everyone that you could have been with, right? Why me? You know, like, I'm not the prettiest woman. I'm not this, that, and the third. But it's almost like Adrian knew that he can kind of manipulate her to some degree, right? He knew that he could use her in some ways. So anyway, because he won't confess, Cecilia decides to go ahead to the bathroom. She's like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'm gonna go freshen up. So she goes to the bathroom, and Adrian is sitting there at the dinner table, and out of nowhere, knife, whoop, slits his throat in the same fashion that Emily was killed, her sister. And he's sitting there bleeding out, and Cecilia comes out, and she said, oh my gosh. She calls, 911. She's like, oh my goodness, whatever. I don't know what she called him. I'm not sure if she called him her boyfriend or whatever. She said he killed himself. He's bleeding, and he's sitting there gagging and bleeding and stuff. And she's on camera, like, she knows where the cameras are in the house. So she's on camera calling the police, being hysterical. And then she backs up out of the camera's view, and she starts looking at him like, this is what you get. Basically, this is what she's saying. Like, this is what you get. You done some wicked things. I got your back. So basically, in essence, what Cecilia did was she went back to the bathroom. She put that suit on. She came out, slit his throat, went back, changed back into her dress, and came out pretending like she was hysterical, that she didn't know what was going on. And she called the police, and basically she got him back. Okay? It was good. And when she walked out, so basically when she went to the house, James was listening in for the confession, because she said she had already told James that she was suspicious and she was going to get him on audio confessing. So James was already like listening in, but James didn't know what her plan was. If he did not confess, she was going to get him. And so that's what happened. So when she left the house, after James rushed up like, oh my gosh, he hurt himself. He sees her in her purse. She has the invisible suit. So he basically put together what she did, but he lets her leave. So she leaves with the invisible suit. And that's how the movie ends. So she walks away confident that he was not going to bother her anymore. And more than likely, if she's still having that baby, her baby's going to be set with that money that he's going to leave, for his benefactors or his beneficiaries, or, his heirs. So it was good. I really, really liked the movie. I liked the actors and actresses in the movie. I thought it was really, really good. It gave me Hollow Man. I think Hollow Man was slightly better, because Hollow Man was off. In Invisible Man, he really had a target. With Hollow Man, he was getting back at a lot of people. Okay, because in Hollow Man, I think in Hollow Man, it wasn't an invisible suit. Okay, there was some kind of an injection that made his entire essence invisible, and with that invisibility, he actually became a psychopath. I think with Adrian in the Invisible Man, he was already a psychopath. Okay, with Hollow Man, it actually enhanced whatever mental things that people already have. If it's mild, it did it times 10. So whatever was kind of mildly there, it enhanced. So it actually turned him into a psychopath. So I like the Hollow Man. I think I'm going to try. I tried to find it, I think about a week ago, and you have to pay for it. So I'm going to check again and see if I can get it free. And if I'm able to watch it, I'm going to review that one, at some point. So Hollow Man was off the chain. I love Kevin Bacon in that movie. It was good. This movie was good too. But the main character is Cecilia. In Hollow Man, I believe the main character was the actual Hollow Man. He was the main character. So you don't really see Adrian that much. You really don't see Tom that much. But Cecilia is the main character. So I think that it took a different angle, but it was still really good. So I would definitely recommend, if you get a chance, watch it. And I'll be back with another video very, very soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.